getting reactions to this. Deven Choksey now joining us. Deven Choksey, I would take this news with a pinch of salt. Yes, Saudi Aramco, this is not the first time they're saying it. I was at a press conference where the same Saudi Aramco chief has said he's looking to invest in Indian oil companies. There are just a handful of them. He's not going to be allowed to invest in Russia with Rosneft. That pretty much leaves Reliance Industries. The partnership with BP has not been taken off. India has objected to the $20 billion investment in Pakistan. The petro refinery complex in West Maharashtra, in West India, not taking off, with Devendra Fadnavis making it official. So, that leaves pretty much Reliance Industries.
Yes, I think I would like to look at this entire subject, on two sides. On one side, I look at, how Reliance is going to benefit out of this entire activity. And on the other side, I will look at, how Aramco would look at, this particular activity for their side. Let's talk how Saudi Aramco is going to look at this particular activity for their portfolio. You being a producer of the oil, you definitely require, the consumer of the oil, who is a refinery. And in turn, in that situation, you are basically asking the higher amount of, connectivity between the production of the oil to the refining of the oil, and thereafter selling and exporting those particular oil derivatives. So this is what they are doing. So for them, it is a good combination with Reliance, because Reliance is expanding the refining capacity to 100 million tons from 66 million tons. So obviously, for them, to feed into this particular supply into Reliance makes more sense. For Reliance, this investment makes more sense because they are already monetizing their existing assets in a systematic manner by having the larger company to come into the portfolio and probably fund this entire expansion. So it's a very, very different strategy that Reliance is following. That whatever the business they are now expanding, you invite the partner. In process, you are doing the de-risking. So when I look at this subject, from the top level, I find that both the partners are in a win-win kind of a situation. Reliance would probably, de-risk their entire activity to a greater extent, and so would be the Aramco, would be also be de-risking their entire activity by plugging in the supply of oil into the refinery. So this is how I like to look at this entire subject. Maybe going forward, we'll evaluate further on the economics part of it, but today, the alliance that they are striking is giving this kind of understanding to me.
Deven, what does this sort of investment, if it potentially happens, would mean? What does it mean in terms of landmark for any Indian refinery?
We are expanding the capacity from 66 million tons to 100 million tons. That is already, the objective Reliance has already set. And now when you are basically expanding this capacity, obviously you require two things. On one side, you require the supply side taken care of, which means your crude, which probably Aramco would have, in the place. On the other side, you require capital to expand the capacity, which Reliance probably want to have it, from the partners. So in the process, in case of Reliance, they are basically de-risking their entire business. They are having the capital from the partners. They are also having all supply coming to them. And in turn, they are giving the advantage of monetization of the entire facility that they are creating from the day one. They did this particular activity with BP as well in past, wherein they tied up with BP for exploration business. And they ended up, attracting the capital into the business. In turn, they strengthened their balance sheet. So this is, something which I find very, very meaningful, that you are strengthening the balance sheet at every stage while taking the expansion route, which is probably, giving the clarity to the investor that this company is not taking unduly high risk in the business, and at the same time mitigating the risk through a systematic process.
Deven Choksey, this is Nayantara again. Now, when BP came to India with Reliance Industries, it was India's largest FDI, $7 billion. That time we used to talk about KG-D6 very, very differently. Since then we have seen BP write down that investment. Now, a year and a half ago, Bob Dudley, the top boss of BP, was in India in the presence of Mukesh Ambani. They made a grand announcement of how they were going to return with a big capex in India, about 45,000 crore rupees. Plans have been submitted to the Indian government. Some of those plans have also been approved. Where can Saudi Aramco feature in all of this? And the second part of my question is that would you think that this is, I'm reading what the quote is exactly coming in. They're not only looking at a refinery. Would the subtext of that may be that Aramco would look at a tie-up with Reliance for its existing petrol pump outlets? It has started reopening them in Gujarat. Would that not be the most obvious destination as well?
So think, Nayantara, my answer to this would be that I think this is again the forward integration for Aramco. As far as I think their business goes, wherein I think you have the refinery at one location and your oil supply is at other location. You are supplying the oil into the refinery and the refinery is producing the refining outputs which are being sold, I think, ultimately into the world market. So you are basically taking care of your oil supply on one side, and I think in turn, I think Reliance would take care of the processing of that and selling the oil products on the other side. So it's a, as I said, the word, I think, win-win combination between the two, wherein a supplier is integrating into the refiner, which is, I think, a perfect combination which is happening. Now, how much this would mean investment, etc., I think I'm not having the entire understanding clear at this point of time. So would reserve that comment, I think, to a later date. But my senses are saying that I think if such kind of larger investment comes into the company, could possibly, I think, grow it, I think, faster than before. You also touched upon the point of BP, and they had to write down their investment on the oil exploration. Now, this is something which is very easily understood in the global market, that when you enter into exploration business, it's a high-risk business. You are not sure about, I think, how much oil you will be able to extract out of it, except that I think you have some estimates. In this case, I think their estimates probably haven't worked as much, but I'm sure I think they have a backup plan to that. So once again, I think since it is not in public knowledge, I would not be privy to answer that thing either. But my reading says that I think the people, when they make the investment, they do understand the risk, and that is how I think they invest systematically to de-risk also at the same time. I really do not know how much BP has got the benefit out of it, but my strong reading says that if BP and Reliance comes together in retailing the oil products, probably BP over a period of time will recover the investment that they have made in Reliance, I think, which you said they are written off. So that kind of investment can be recovered, I think, with the kind of a distribution arrangement that they would do with Reliance for retailing of their petroleum products. So
Deven, thanks so much for that perspective. Always good to get